Today is Friday, September 25th, 2020, and my name is still Michael James Ott, and I am still the host of the Pro and Con Show. And as always, welcome to the show. And, again, just a couple words encouraging us to think more, to expand our role in our own self-governance. Means taking some extra time, means ignoring, football and some other things, not entirely, but for a few hours a month to, look at the issues and understand things and actually take time to be good citizens, to understand the different opinions out there and why people have reached them, as opposed to just, 4 words on a hat or a bumper sticker and okay, here, let's go. Okay. Today's show is, I call 200,000. And the reason why I titled this show that is we have gone past a grave and grim milestone in our pandemic here in the United States of America. We're very rapidly approaching 7 million documented cases. The actual number is much, much higher than that. We just haven't tested enough to find out just how much higher. But we know that there's at least 200,000 cases where people have lost their lives because of the pandemic. And a lot of that, and I've spoken about it in the past, but I'll touch on it here as quickly as I can. A lot of that would have been avoided along with the massive shutdown of our economy and all of the associated turmoil and economic upheaval. People are going to be losing their homes. They're going to be hungry and all kinds of and bad medical condition, and the list is going to go on and on and on because of the inept approach of unfortunately Mr. Trump, who has, one of the things about a leadership position, especially when you're like the executive leader, is that if you make a bad choice, then those ramifications, they just flow out. And he made the bad choice of thinking of coronavirus as some kind of political thing that he could, I guess, in his mind, he thought he could manipulate. He thought he could somehow downplay the fact that we were going to have this horrific contagion. And he knew it was going to be a horrific contagion, he was told, but he did not want to take the necessary steps to try to avoid significant, because he was, for political reasons, he thought that he was best served in his attempts to get reelected, which again, I've said many times, we should not have reelection, should not be an option. This is one of the clear reasons. This is, the poster child, one of the poster children for why having politicians get reelected is a bad idea, because he's motivated by trying to maintain wealth, influence, and power as president of the United States. And so instead of just focused on acting in the best interests of the country, he's focused on acting in the best interest of trying to get reelected. And when those interests diverge, and in his mind they did, in my mind they wouldn't. I would thought that he would have been much better served by saying, okay, this pandemic's going to be a serious thing. We have to take it seriously. And, the options to try to deal with the pandemic, as in, having a vaccine, well, that's going to take a long, long time. That's not, and cures of the symptoms and stuff like that, well, we don't have those. So that's going to take a long, long time. We can test. So what we can do then is we can test and segregate people that come up positive and keep them isolated from the rest of the population. And we can do that in a smart way we can, once we realize that elderly people and elderly people with pre-existing conditions of various forms were the most susceptible to having the worst effects, we could focus on them at first and focus the testing on them and the caretakers around them to try to avoid a huge percentage of the deaths. Well, anyway, I want to point out why, and so I am really upset. I'm very, very angry, frustrated, and the reason is that 200,000 deaths, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of Americans. And yes, we could not avoid all of those deaths, but I bet we could have avoided 80% of them or 70% of them, or even if you say only half, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of husbands and wives and sons and daughters and parents and grandparents that should still be with us, should still be, great parts of our lives, and they're gone from us. And it's a huge number. And one of the things that we struggle with as humans is, is it a huge number? Well, let's think about it. There's many different ways that we can compare. So let's just talk about airplane accidents, okay? So plane crashes, commercial plane crashes. So in a really bad plane crash, you might lose about 200 people, okay? 200,000 means that we've had the equivalent of 1,000 plane crashes since March. 1,000 plane crashes since March. Now, does that put it in perspective for you? Let's look at some other numbers here. So I started to try to put this in some other perspective here. So normally in a normal year, we would lose somewhere between 50 and 60,000 people to influenza and pneumonia. So this is 4 times that many, okay? This is around 4 times the number of suicides. So we have had about 4 times the number of people that would kill themselves in a given year. The September 11 attacks, okay, was an event that shaped the country and shaped our view on how we were going to approach international relationships and stuff like that, and terrorism. Just under 3,000 people were killed or died, either from the falling of the buildings or associated things. So around 3,000. So this is something like 7 times worse than 9/11. Okay. In a normal year, and it's been going down because of better design of cars and stuff like that. But step by step, so anyway, just under 40,000 people are killed in car accidents here in the United States this year, in the last couple of years. So this is we've lost 5 times the number of people. And if the year isn't over, this is just from March until now September. Okay? So roughly a 6-month period. So we have already lost 5 times the number of people we lose in car accidents to the COVID-19 and associated secondary effects and stuff like that. If you you should be very upset, and I hope that some of these numbers allow you to kind of put this in perspective of just how badly botched this thing is. And oh, by the way, we're not making really great progress, and the expectation is that we will have lost roughly 400,000 people by the end of the year. 400,000 people, and a huge number of them should not have been lost. Let me see here. There was another number I wanted to find. Wait a second. Maybe I have to look it up in a website here. Oh yeah. So World War II. World War II, we had 290,000 battle deaths, 113,000 non-battle deaths, so roughly 400,000 deaths in World War II. World War II. World War II, a war that was fought over a 4 or 5 year period for us here in this country. And we had millions of service members go into war, and we're talking about guns and explosives and people trying to kill each other. And we lost 400,000 people in World War II. Let's talk about the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War was a very, very unpopular war. And so the total number of deaths, battle deaths, was around a little bit under 50,000. There was another 10,000 or 11,000 deaths with kind of in theater, but not directly associated with battle. And then there was another 32,000 deaths, I guess, associated with logistics and stuff supporting that war. So about 80,000 deaths in total associated with one of the least popular wars that we've ever been in, the Vietnam War. And by the end of the year, we very likely will have 5 times the number of deaths from the Vietnam War because of the coronavirus. And again, the dismal way that this has been approached, and the failure by Mr. Trump, and then because of his leadership is unbelievably important, and because he has failed us, intentionally failed us, this is the kind of figures of mortality that we're talking about. Folks, we need a change. We need to get rid of Mr. Trump because he made these decisions because of, and I've talked about it in the past, because of the mental issues that he has, his personality disorders, his lack of reasoning skills, his mental incapacity, his early stages of dementia. This all is the wicked soup that is poisoning us in our society. All right, so for the Pro and Con Show, my name is Michael James Ott, and until the next show, bye for now.